Sheila here with Sirius Dallas Moon. Moon hour, moon day. The moon is applying to conjoin ketu. And basically, what we're seeing with this type of configuration is the beginning of the purging of the Regulian status in society for those who saw and treated the feminine as profane. And we're going to particularly see that when Ketu crosses to tropical Leo. And I see it as a continuation of the fact that the transits through Leo, if the transits through Aries are sovereignty o'clock, the I am, the individual human rights, looking at the fundamentals in a new perspective. Shout out to Shania Conde, rereading Genesis, exposing to us that we have been instructed to follow something that saw people as sheeple, something that saw people as profane, something that negated the natural love and affinity and connection amongst people, amongst men and women, and something that interfered in life creation and birthing negatively and malevolently. And this is so because religion was consisting of trafficking children and women. And it still does. In the state of Israel, the budget that passed made a lot of people angry, not only because it allocated a lot of budget to Orthodox people, and then people were angry that they don't serve in the army, although a lot of them do serve in the army. But the point is that there was a cross procedure that was making the ritual abuse, child trafficking based extortion cults that affect and siphon, loot the wealth, the public wealth, with impediment on residence, job opportunities, and again, the secular are as guilty. The people that say that the Me Too went too far find their budget looted to a bigger devil. And this shows us that those divisions that rely solely on oppressing what they see as the feminine, which is the people, and the women, causing birth to be excessively painful or even inaccessible to many people because they would need IVF, because of the reasons that they would need IVF to begin with, that are type of fifth vital sign problems that could be so much so alleviated without the policies that pollute the soil, pollute the relations between people. The religious institutions that consist themselves on trafficking, they want people to have this Madonna whore complex at the very least, or even be addicted to sex, or even be so that they will not be able to look at a human being, man or woman, and honor, to love and be loved, honor the erotic and unerotic self. Sovereignty, where people are instructed to just follow what they're being told. No, 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 no. And later they are being held accountable for following that. Okay, after the Nazi regime, people were held accountable. Well, they were instructed to follow orders. All of these things are pests over not just people, the ecosystem. They caused mold in the teeth, mold in the palaces. They harass and lower the frequency under whichever god. or the lack of, to keep people in mental issues, and then the mental issues are denied. I read an article that will complain the Gen Z do not donate blood because they over focused on the mental issues, but they underestimate real life and death issues. I'm sorry, Gen Z invented the word called unaliving themselves. The generation after them was literally committing suicide by the masses. Seeing the feminine as profane and oppressing what they call as the feminine, because we call people also the feminine, is a pest on life. It is abomination to the sanctity of life. And it is so only, and it permeates religion, it permeated Genesis. Ketu, moon Ketu, but Ketu approaching regulus, Ketu magha nakshatra, um, basically causes us to dematerialize anything Regulian that's associated with seeing the feminine as profane. Be it, and since Magha Nakshatra has to do with hereditary lineages, royalties, mafias, and even castes, we're going to see a great calling to purge those. Now, this makes me think, what happened 18 years backwards? So we are in 2026. 20 years backwards would be 2006, let's say 2008, it was the subprime crisis, Epstein files. I don't even need to look farther. It was a mafia that worked with dark esoterics. And this is where we began to purge our appreciation of the Regulian, because, and now 18 years afterwards, we see, okay, who was the Epstein list? Harvard. Harvard and MIT are sisters. The greatest fashion industry. Again, they want to talk. The goal is to mistreat, to see the feminine as profane. So fashion, art, media, the speech, the medium of speech, through which people like Anil Wick would say, "Wait a second, Epstein did that to 17 years old. My father did that to 3 years old." And this is where the honor and respect, I think particularly hidden or visible mafiosi lineages, are going to have the most difficult time, because they expect to be honored and appreciated when they do rape and trafficking. And they expect the people will just accept it, that certain women is okay to rape, to torture them, to cause what Beta per se eventually causes dead bodies upon dead bodies. I gave example of Bulgaria, where um, something like child weddings, which is either wedding of puberty or wedding of only the virgins, um, was a costume. And then all the women, Second World War, all the women met the fate of the woman. They met the fate of the woman, and not only that, it persisted after Second World War. And in the Soviet Union, the intelligence was taken, and is still done today in the West, the intelligence was taking women. The father believes he sent his daughter to serve the nation. Royal Military Academy, the testimony of Elijah. And then these women were raped until they either died or seduced one of the commanders. And then it became espionage. This espionage took down drug lords. But the Soviet Union fell. Why? Because when intelligence is done by rape, also to the boys, then, okay, when intelligence is done by rape, whether to the girls or to the boys, then it doesn't yield true cohesion. And then the Soviet Union fell. Oh, the partisans raped Bulgarian women in Second World War. It would not be so easily allowed, had the internal society not already believed that it's okay to rape these women? Because they glorified the woman was virgin, but what is a woman that is virgin? Is a child. And then what happened to the women that were raped in the Royal Military Academy? Their fathers basically saw them as profane. They saw them as whore and cut contact with their own daughters that were raped. Tell me, is there a future for such society but dead bodies upon dead bodies? And so it was. Dead bodies upon dead bodies. No, I brought nothing. This is what I have. Now, every time ketu goes through these degrees, we are called to dematerialize the glorification. We see it with Norwegian royalty being accused for sexual boundary violation. Nobody can respect when we violate the sacred, which is a child, a boy, a girl, a woman, or a man, because in the army, the lower divisions, they're seen as the feminine. Then, basically, we violate the sacred, we violate life. And then people expect to be honored, appreciated, venerated, respected as leaders, religious or not, mafiosi or not. This is a blessed time where we purge the honor and respect that we had for those who see us as profane, for those who see us as like it's okay to rape the sacredness of our life within, and to call it work, vendidus, and to expect veneration. It is also being exposed, even businesses that startled me, like astrological businesses. Not all astrologers, but the hidden stream of the people as sheeple and profane, the normalization of sex trafficking by women that were trafficked and rely on being a madam. Women that find that their only power is with sexually seducing men.
And internet.
They expect to be appreciated for their intelligence, but do they go against basically rape, trafficking, and the relevant esoterics that was supporting rape and trafficking? This is going to be in conjunction to Neptune, and Saturn, and Pluto. There is an attempt to establish a scientific basis both to astrology and to psychology. But can we call the people that raped the sacred in life, as they saw it as profane, the people that are the establishment of the science to decide for us what is psychologically healthy and what is not? When all the psychological advancements that were on the basis of understanding that rape, the act of being a rapist, is profane, and the raped was to begin with sacred, and the diseases, inflammation, mold that is caused by rape can only be cured by abolition of rape, slavery, and energy siphoning. As per Neptune, the mafiosi heads, I would not be surprised if we'll have additional lists of Epstein that shows us mafia bosses sitting in Epstein Island. They're trafficking. There's such thing as sex worker. It means they raped and they mistreat women. There's no women that are respectable or not respectable. As a rapist that raped a child until child developed hypersexuality of what they called promiscuity or avoidance of sex. Then either way that child is called a whore because if the child avoids sex, the devil said this child is being promiscuous or has slept with the people that they never slept with. And if the child developed a hypersexuality, the child will never have access to healing. And they would be used to loot the housing, the opportunities, the job opportunities, and to enslave the people in hidden ways such that they never have access to healing. And this is when we begin to purge all appreciation we have for such people, all veneration we have for such people. And the square to Uranus is showing us, yes, even mafiosi people. Why? Because they trafficked women. They raped and said that the person was a whore, or that the person was choosing this, or that this was sex work. Rape is not work. That was the essence of the Me Too. And people will not appreciate these people anymore because they can connect the neurodivergent child to a child that what is a neurodivergent? They can't obey orders. What were the orders? To get in concentration camp and die? To be seen as the profane. For the man to be seen as the profane. And they say, oh, the neurodivergent child saved the family's life. No, there is no break. We got no break, there is no break. That no war diverts the attention from the rape of the children, of the women, from the making business by violating the sacredness of life retained since infanthood.